For months, the message from Manila was clear. 2026 is the comeback year. The government projected an optimistic growth target between 5 and 6%. Then, the Asian Development Bank released their April outlook. They cut that growth forecast from a comfortable 5.3% straight down to 4.4%. Looking at this chart comparing the two projections, you can clearly see the gap. We have the government's target range sitting high, and the revised ADB forecast dropping far below it into the red. Pulling the timeline back to last year, the new projection actually forms a completely flat line. The anticipated economic acceleration has vanished, leaving us tied to the exact same sluggish pace. That 4.4% is the speed limit on our collective earning power. When growth stalls at that level, the national economy is essentially living paycheck to paycheck, getting taxed heavily by forces entirely outside its borders. The primary force driving this downgrade is thousands of miles away. Escalating geopolitical conflicts across the Middle East are sending shockwaves through global markets. The Philippines is a net importer of oil. We buy our energy from the rest of the world, meaning any disruption in global supply completely bypasses our national economic defenses. You see the immediate damage right here. Domestic fuel pump prices have essentially doubled, passing the raw cost of global instability directly to the driver. This line graph maps out how that fuel spike cascades through the rest of the economy. Headline inflation is now projected to shoot past the central bank's target ceiling, rising from 3% up to a painful 4%. That metric hits the ground in the form of logistics. When diesel costs double, the operational cost of running these jeepneys, moving cargo, and stocking grocery shelves skyrockets. To absorb those shipping costs, retailers have to make adjustments. It's why your favorite fast food meal suddenly looks a little smaller in the box, or the ingredients get swapped out. Your purchasing power shrinks to cover the difference. The cash in your wallet hasn't physically changed, but inflation acts as an inescapable, invisible tax, draining its value every single day. Usually, the Philippine economy relies on a massive built-in safety net to counter this kind of inflation, overseas Filipino worker remittances. But look at this pie chart of global remittance sources. Over 17% flows exclusively from the Middle East. Last year, total cash remittances hit an all-time high of $35.6 billion. That represents 7.3% of the country's gross domestic product. A prolonged regional war puts the very workers sending that capital at risk. Their employment, their physical safety, and their income stability are all suddenly on the line. At the household level, that means monthly family support payments halt. Balik bayan boxes get delayed indefinitely. The safety net disappears right when families need it most. A single geopolitical shock is simultaneously driving up the cost of domestic living while actively choking off the international lifelines used to pay for it. The system is cornered from both sides. To navigate this, we open the blackout ledger. It is a tactical framework designed to replace financial panic with cold, hard data. When bad news hits, retail investors tend to panic sell their assets. Institutional operators do the exact opposite. They remove emotion and execute defensive strategies. The math here is straightforward. To survive a 4% inflationary flood, you have to engineer a portfolio that yields more than 4%, executing a strict value and dividend strategy. You do this by targeting local blue-chip companies with absolute pricing power, businesses that can effortlessly pass their rising costs down to the consumer. Telecommunications providers are a prime example. Internet and cellular service are essential utilities with highly inelastic demand. Even when prices rise, people keep paying their phone bills. Port operators function the same way. They control the international shipping infrastructure that remains absolutely necessary, regardless of what local inflation is doing. Finally, there are consumer staples. Cash flow remains steady because buying basic food and household goods is a requirement for survival, not a luxury choice. Financial survival is not about hiding your cash under a mattress. It requires building a mathematical defense, a portfolio designed to yield returns that stay safely above the rising floodwaters of inflation. To keep building your financial literacy and stay ahead of these economic shifts, hit subscribe and join the Project Peso community. Stay sharp, stay rational, and I'll see you in the next ledger.